People of Reddit no longer bound by their NDA, what can you now disclose? I used to work for a company that tracked ticket sales for theaters across the US. By contractual agreement with Hollywood studios, we collected information for approximately 80% of theaters, but we were not allowed to collect that last 20%. Why? You may have heard of Hollywood accounting. Hollywood studios work very hard to ensure their accounting is as beneficial to the studios as possible. No surprise, all businesses do this. But Hollywood has unusually high amounts of money in very narrow products, creating a distorted market. And the industry is rife with films grossing obscene amounts of money but not reporting a profit. Because our company couldn't collect that last 20% of theater data, it wasn't possible to absolutely say that a movie made X number of dollars. So, I can't prove it, but on Friday, June 21, 2002, the movies Minority Report and Lilo & Stitch were both released to great fanfare. Minority Report's opening week was reported at $35,677,125, 27% of total gross. Lilo & Stitch's opening weekend was reported as $35,260,212, 24.2% of total gross. This is a lie. Lilo & Stitch earned more money than Minority Report its opening weekend. 20th Century Fox couldn't have a Tom Cruise feature film being beaten by a fucking cartoon. So someone at 20th Century Fox called Disney and offered a deal. Since the full amount of money earned couldn't be proven, Fox would announce that Minority Report was the top earner for the weekend. In exchange, we never knew what the exchange was. We simply knew that Minority Report was reported as the top earner and Disney received some benefit for not saying anything. And then there was the shitstorm of Giggly later, but that's another story. Update: technically, I could have said this much earlier because when the studios found out our company wasn't handing out NDAs to employees, the studios were not happy. You do not make Hollywood studios unhappy. So the company quickly rushed to get NDAs out to everyone. They were distributed per team. They were distributed the week that I was switching teams. So both my old and my new team assumed I had an NDA when I didn't. I never bothered to correct their error. Update 2, by request, here's the Giggly story. All links referenced in description. Cheetos Clean Paws. I worked in market research and Frito-Lay tested these back in 2007, I think. The concept was Cheetos that didn't leave orange dust on your fingers. What that translates to is Cheetos with an edible lacquer sprayed on them. But they tested very poorly because they tasted like they had edible lacquer sprayed on them. My co-workers and I referred to them as semi-gloss Cheetos. Used to work in a warehouse where we made feminine hygiene products. The pads came out of one machine into several different branded boxes. Both the nickel gas station pads and the $10 a box pads. Also we had one product of pads where we imported them from China, then repackaged them into our own boxes. I didn't have a problem with that. The problem I had was the box had an emblem saying Made in America. Would have been okay if it said assembled in America. But no. I worked for a cosmetic company that did exactly this. We would have an order for say 10,000 units of the top of the range $150 mascara. Once we had filled the tubes, we would swap out the packaging for the company's own generic brand $1 tubes and fill with the remaining product in the tank. So the tip for the mascara fans out there, if you find a mascara you love, keep the brush and just use that in a budget brand. It's most likely the same product and it's the brush that works well, not the magic formula inside. Just a friendly reminder that under no circumstances can an NDA prevent you from disclosing a crime. The contract is not legal in that case and the NDA is dismissed. So if your boss made you sign one to not report them for something illegal, you can absolutely report them. There are power line transformers that predate WW1 still up and running in the US, and the utility companies aren't 100% sure where most of them are. They only find out when one finally dies. Someone over 100 years ago put up a transform that powered telegrams all the way to Twitter. Edit. Okay, so people are asking. We'll try to address everything. I worked in the telecom sector. That means I needed to know something about how utility poles operated. On my first day they handed me a binder that was an idiot's guide to utility poles and made me sign an NDA on it. It was dumb because I am sure even back then it was public information. I really do not know more than I stated. I use low VA transformers at work and they are a black box of magic to me. Some people are mentioning PCBs, and sure, that makes sense. I don't know what they used to cool them 100 years ago. Transformers can last a long time. I have pulled multi-decade ones out of machines, so the idea that one hit the century mark seems reasonable to me and I haven't questioned it. When my internship was over I talked to a professor I knew about this and she mentioned the bird poop thing. I am not sure if this related to the multiple fires in California. My internship was in the Bay Area. And I sorta remember the binder being general, not that one particular area. Forgive me, but this was about 2007, so I can't remember this perfectly. The last day of my university I stuck the binder on the shelf in the engineering section of the library. I am not sure how to locate them or what they even look like. It was just a chart on paper. I admit the idea is really a cool concept, but based on what I am reading here, if you found one, be very wary. GE knowingly put shitty compressors in their fridge units knowing they would fail within a year. Rather than do an extremely expensive recall, they offered to replace the units for free if someone complained, knowing that a large percentage of people just buy a new unit. The shitty compressor was so cheap to make they kept using it in their profile lineup. When Chili's first got their awesome blossom, there were no machines to cut the onion, so we did it by hand. I had to sign an NDA before they showed me how to do it. Used to work for Disney. They only used Disney employees for the test screenings of Marvel movies, so I got to see Guardians of the Galaxy 2, already great, and an early version of Doctor Strange that needed a lot of work. When we were giving feedback to the moderator, the writers were sitting in the back with their heads in their hands looking very defeated. It was a confusing mess, but they fleshed out the characters more, so it was better by the time it was released. Oh, also they used to kill a lot of ducks with pyro at Disney World when they did the Illuminations show at Epcot. SHHHHH. I used to work in a call center that had Bayer Advanced, yes, that Bayer, as a client. Bayer knows full well that their neonicotinoid-based pesticide/gardening products killed bees and were responsible for colony collapse. We were instructed to bold-face deny and/or lie to the customer or caller if we were ever asked about it. We were also instructed to lie about the spray nozzles on the bottles. Bayer knew they sucked ass and were almost always completely DOA defective, but they refused to admit it and decided it was cheaper to just keep mailing replacement nozzles. How much of a scumbag do you have to be to prioritize profit over the extinction of bees? A Dogo is a doggy daycare in Minnesota that made me sign an NDA for 2 years, saying I was not allowed to talk about the company, mainly, sadly, because they treat the workers and dogs like shit. No care for how many dogs were packed into a room, which is both unsafe for the dogs and the dog attendant. Often I'd be alone in a small room with up to 25 plus dogs, most who only had the most minor of behavioral tests done to see if they would play well in daycare. Owner also tried to get around not paying my workers' comp when I did get injured on the job, and whenever anybody put in their 2 weeks after realizing what a toxic work environment it was, which was often, he would punish them with scheduling them all week or make them open to close 12 hours for all their shifts. If you're in Minnesota and looking for a reputable dog daycare, stay away from a Dogo. If in the Twin Cities, I would recommend Dog Days, not perfect, but they actually seem to care. Gamers who follow gaming news might have heard about this already because of patents, but Activision does indeed have a fully functional matchmaking algorithm for Call of Duty which matches players against each other based on a combination skill, purchased microtransactions, and preferred weapon used in-game. What I mean with that is, for example, if a skilled player purchases a $20 skin for a sniper rifle, the matchmaking system will match them against a lesser skilled player who also likes to use that particular sniper rifle but isn't good with it. The goal of the system is to give the lesser skilled player the false impression that the skilled player is doing better than them due to them having purchased the skin, hopefully resulting in the lesser skilled player also purchasing that same skin. I know for a fact that this system has been tested in the final release of a game and that it indeed resulted in a significant increase of microtransaction sales during the test. I don't know if the system is currently active as I'm no longer at the company.